All right, while we're on the topic of public transit, let's switch to a hot button issue north of the Columbia River. The plan to extend light rail from Portland into Vancouver across the new I-5 bridge. Clark County Public Transit, also known as C-TRAN, is experiencing some sticker shock over what that plan could cost them in the future. The cost of building it is not C-TRAN's problem. That's part of the Interstate Bridge replacement project, and the IBR team is pursuing a $1 billion federal transit grant to help cover it. But once it's up and running, sometime around 2033 is the latest estimate, C-TRAN is going to be on the hook for some of the operation and maintenance costs, and that's not a position they wanted to be in. Light rail is a touchy subject in Clark County, so when C-TRAN's board approved IBR's light rail plan 2 years ago, they added a condition. They would not pick up any of the operations and maintenance tab. But the board softened its stance in November to say they may help with funding. Still not a yes, but they're willing to talk about it. But at the following board meeting in December, staff presented IBR's proposal for how to split the bill after it was up and running, as well as an early estimate of the cost of running light rail over the new bridge, just over $20 million per year. Well, that did not go over so well.
Scott, I'm trying to take this seriously, but it's hard for me. That number seems, I'm sorry, it seems, I don't know how they can say it without a smile on their face. It seems so outrageous.
All right, now fare revenue makes up for some of it, and everything south of the state line is TriMet's responsibility, including about 55% of the extension to Vancouver. So C-TRAN's bill after that would be more like $6.8 million per year. But that's still a lot of money, and C-TRAN's board members pressed staff to explain why it costs so much to run just 1 mile, this single mile of light rail. Well, apparently a lot of it comes down to frequency. The IBR team expects the Max Yellow Line to become a lot busier once people can take a one-seat ride all the way from Vancouver to Portland. So their plan calls for a train every 6 or 7 minutes in each direction, double the frequency of the Yellow Line today. The cost of running all those trains adds up, even for just 1 mile. But the board members were not thrilled about the frequency plan either.
I mean, it's $6.8 million. Even if you want to talk about, yeah, they're going to be there every 6 minutes. I mean, that's a service that, you know, is a little bit above and beyond what we're doing, a lot of bit above and beyond what we're doing right now. I'm sorry. I'm really having sticker shock here.
I'm just really shocked by this. I would prefer us concentrating on C-TRAN and how to benefit C-TRAN with how we could expand rapid bus system with us on our side. This to me kind of looks to be C-TRAN subsidizing TriMet.
So if C-TRAN did decide to chip in, which is not set in stone yet, how exactly would they pay for it? Well, you'll be thrilled with this. Raise taxes. Washington law allows public transit agencies to impose local sales taxes of up to 0.9% to fund their operations. And C-TRAN only collects 0.7% right now, so legally they have room to raise it. Washington law also allows for a separate high-capacity transit sales tax that can be stacked on top of the regular transit tax. C-TRAN does not currently use that, but if it's for light rail, they could start. But here's where it gets extra tricky. Hiking either tax would require voter approval, and Clark County voters have a long and arguably proud tradition of rejecting light rail, usually by overwhelming margins. In this case, the taxes would only apply to C-TRAN's service area, so only voters in that area would get to weigh in, meaning Vancouver and others like Battleground and Ridgefield, plus a couple big suburbs like Hazeldale, not all of Clark County. And those seem like parts of the county that might be more receptive to light rail, but not receptive enough. How do we know? Because we've seen this play out before. When light rail was planned to come over as part of the Columbia River crossing back in 2012, C-TRAN asked voters in its service area for a 0.1% sales tax increase to cover operations and maintenance. More than half of voters who weighed in, 56%, voted against that. And that's actually a much closer result than any of the times when all of Clark County has been asked to weigh in on light rail. But still, it's a pretty solid no. C-TRAN staff noticed that the agency could choose to limit the second sales tax, the high-capacity transit one, to an even smaller area, basically just the city of Vancouver. Now, that might be a safer bet to find light rail-friendly voters, but it did not sound like it would be the board's first choice. Vancouver's mayor, who chairs the C-TRAN board, pushed hard for C-TRAN to ask the Washington legislature to step in.
We could start talking to the legislators about how they're going to fund this very unique bi-state transit that happens nowhere else in the state of Washington. There is nothing along the Idaho border. There is nothing else along the Canadian border. There is nothing along the Oregon border except for this, where the state of Washington shares transit with another state.
C-TRAN still has about 3 years to figure this out and this funding plan out, according to staff. But the sooner the better in theory if you want light rail, because a clear financial plan is one of the things the feds will be looking for when they consider whether or not to give the bridge project a $1 billion transit grant to build light rail in the first place. All right, so we know some of you in Vancouver cannot wait to write into us. Maybe you've already started, but let us know what you think about the light rail plan and possible efforts to raise a local sales tax to help pay for it. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail 503-226-5090.